9066. Fade in. Exterior farmhouse, day. A modest farmyard perched on a stunning meadow. Rolling hills and oak trees. A lush vegetable field in the distance. Super. California, 1942. A farm dog bounds through the meadow, making its way to a young Japanese-American girl playing in the long grass, observing a ladybug on her finger. She carefully sets it on a piece of grass. This is Miyoko Shima, 8 years old. She warmly embraces the dog just as the sound of an engine purrs over a distant hill. Miyoko looks up. Through a mirage, she sees a military truck coming her way. Interior farmhouse moments later. Miyoko's parents, Louise and Joseph Shima, both in their young 30s, hastily move around the house, throwing what they can fit into 2 suitcases sprawled on the floor. 2 young U.S. soldiers in forest green uniforms stand over the family with rifles and bayonets. They are Scout, 19, has a hint of unease on his face. He doesn't carry his rifle with the same confidence as Canon, 25, hot-headed and arrogant. He smokes a cigarette, cool and calm, as he watches a family's life be turned upside down. Canon glances at a Daruma doll, their house a collection of Japanese and American cultures. A crane origami, a sake set, a baseball, a box of Kellogg's cornflakes. Joseph collects his camera. Louise packs a set of porcelain dishes, her hands shaking.
No personal items.
It was her grandmother's.
I don't make the rules.
Just give us a minute, please. Louise, we can't bring that. Louise, listen to me. We don't have room.
No cameras either.
Interior farmhouse, upstairs, day. Another soldier, 30s, hard eyes, hard face, cigarette hanging from his lips, searches Joseph's desk. This is Butch, the leader of the 3. He's stern but collected. A black and white photograph of Joseph's father, Keito, a young Japanese man in a U.S. soldier's uniform, rests on the desk. Butch flips through documents and letters, throwing the ones written in Japanese in a box. He stops. Pulls out a California landowner certificate addressed to Joseph Shima. Interior farmhouse, downstairs, continuous.
30 seconds.
Miyoko stands off to the side, confused about what's going on.
Where's your jacket? I told you to grab it.
What's happening?
We don't have time. Go. Now.
Interior farmhouse, upstairs, continuous. Miyoko grabs her jacket. She wistfully takes notice of the toys in her room, various dolls and stuffed animals. She hears some commotion in the adjacent room. She peeks through a cracked door to see Butch taking a lighter to her father's certificate. Interior farmhouse, downstairs, continuous. Miyoko comes down the stairs with her arms full of toys.
What are you doing? I told you we can't bring those things.
Why? Where are we going?
Time.
If we could just have a minute to say goodbye, please.
Time.
Exterior farmhouse, day. Miyoko, Louise, and Joseph are lined up outside with 2 suitcases and a drawstring bag filled with bedding. In front of their house lays a box of contrabands. Joseph's camera, radios, a typewriter. Butch's box of collected paperwork beside it. The family dog is now tied to a pole, barking ferociously at the men with guns. Butch checks their passport pictures one by one, while Canon crosses their names off a list. Joseph Shima, Louise Shima, Miyoko Shima. Meanwhile, Miyoko notices Scout adjusting a heavy glass contact lens from his eye. He hurries to fix it so the others don't see.
We're missing one.
Butch reads, Keisuke Shima.
Grandpa, is he here?
Butch looks out toward the farm.
Scout.
Scout straightens himself up in time. Exterior, farm, moments later. Scout sees an old man working the fields in the distance. Insert, the dog barking at the soldiers. Scout makes his way to the fields. His contact lenses continue to irritate his eyes. He takes them out, moving forward with hazy vision. Exterior farmhouse continuous. Butch and Canon watch over the family.
If you could just let us talk to him, please. He's done nothing.
We didn't order you to speak.
Exterior farm moments later. Keisuke Shima, 80s, is hard at work, pulling sugar beets from the ground. He pays no mind to Scout as he approaches. He continues to work, cutting the tops of the beets off with a sharp, hooked knife, then tossing them in a basket. Then he starts again.
It's time to leave.
If you think I'm a spy, you might as well shoot me now.
We have orders.
Orders.
We have to go.
Do you know why I came to this country?
I don't know.
Intercut between the present and pieces of Keisuke's memory. Japanese paddy field, 1870s. 16-year-old Keisuke in a dried-out paddy field. He slices a paddy plant with a knife, feels the rough, dehydrated grain in his hand.
After the Meiji Restoration, Japan was left in great poverty and despair, especially for farmers. For my family. The population was growing, but resources were scarce.
Present day.
My sister died of starvation. She was 12.
Japanese paddy field, 1880s. The paddy field is now completely gone, nothing but dirt. Keisuke stands with his pregnant wife, Haru, both in their 20s. Each has a suitcase in hand as they take one last look at their field.
When the Americans pushed out the Chinese, they needed cheap labor for the railroads and mines. We thought, maybe this could be our chance to survive.
Emigration Center. Keisuke and Haru get their passport documents stamped. Present day.
We don't have time for stories. We have to go now. Do you understand?
My family and I worked the railroads for 10 years.
Northern Pacific Railway, end of 19th century. Keisuke swings a spike maul overhead and onto a spike. Several men behind him do the same. Others lay down track. Each worker drenched in sweat and covered in dirt.
We froze in the winters and burned in the summers. They didn't feed us nor house us. They didn't pay us what they promised, even though we were more efficient than any other railway company in the world. Half of us died from famine and disease.
Insert. A young, sick Japanese man on the railroad. He's pale and sweaty, coughing up a storm into a handkerchief. He pulls the cloth away, revealing droplets of blood.
They didn't care.
Present day.
We risked our lives each day. For what?
Railway tunnel, end of 19th century. A railway worker manually lights a fuse inside a rock filled with black powder.
My father would beg the overseers for safer working conditions.
Meanwhile, Keisuke, at base camp, wipes the dirt and sweat off his forehead.
Their response is always the same. We'll see what we can do.
Close on the fuse, sparks travel down to meet the powder. Then it stops, shorting. Back on Keisuke, he notices the ground rumbling. All of a sudden, a violent explosion of rocks and dirt shoot Keisuke onto his back, knocking him unconscious.
My father died that day working the tunnel.
Keisuke stands over his dead father's body, covered in rocks and dirt.
Somehow, I was still proud to be in America.
Exterior, farmhouse, continuous. Butch lights a cigarette. Canon bites into a strawberry, tosses the stems to the side. Miyoko watches a ladybug land on Canon. Without hesitation, he squashes the bug with his fingers. Exterior farm continuous.
After my father passed, we took to a farm with other Japanese families.
Vegetable farm, California, early 20th century. A car drops Keisuke and Haru, now in their 30s, and their son, Keito, 10, in front of a farm in its early development.
The land was fertile, but we were the only ones who knew how to transform it into something valuable.
Insert. Farmers laying down soil. Others dig and shovel for irrigation. Insert. Keisuke holds a plump, red strawberry in his hand. Neighbor's farm. The middle of the night. A few white men light torches. a sense of sinister rage in their eyes.
The commissioners were happy. Their pockets grew. But every white man who called himself a farmer hated us.
Exterior farmhouse continuous. Canon bites into another strawberry. There's now an entire pile of strawberry leaves on the ground.
Hey, Butch, didn't you grow up on a farm?
Vegetable Farm, California, 1917. Keisuke and Haro, now with a few gray hairs and wrinkles, say goodbye to an adult Keito, 20s. He wears an American soldier uniform, his bags packed for war. Haru holds a baby boy in her arms.
My son, Kaito, fought in the First World War. We begged him not to go, but he insisted, said it was his duty to fight for his country.
Keito kisses the baby, then waves goodbye, walking off into the distance. Present day.
Kaito never returned.
Vegetable Farm, California, 1919. Keisuke and Haro anxiously wait outside their house. A government vehicle pulls up with no sight of Keito. Immediately, Haru knows something is wrong. She falls to her knees, a mother's worst nightmare. Present day.
We later learned Kaito threw himself over a grenade to save his comrades.
Vegetable Farm, California, 1920. Middle of the night, the same white farmers from earlier. They throw their torches at Keisuke's farmhouse.
On the same day Kaito received a Medal of Honor, our farm was set to fire by our own neighbors.
Close on Keisuke's eyes, reflecting the fire.
I was still proud to be in America.
Vegetable Farm, California, 1921. Keisuke places a flower bouquet on a tombstone for Haru, her grave next to Keito's.
Haru died a year later from a heart attack.
Exterior farmhouse continuous. The dog continues to bark as Canon herds the family into the back of the truck.
Kaito left behind a son, Joseph, an American.
Canon shuts the back of the truck. The horizontal slats separates the family like animals in a cage.
Father, why are they taking us?
Please just let us to talk to him. He's done nothing wrong.
God damn it, what's taking so long?
Butch puts out his cigarette. Suddenly, he's more impatient.
Scout!
Because you people bombed Pearl Harbor.
Exterior, farm, continuous.
We have to go now. What's the matter with you?
Insert shots of the inside of the Shima household. Each room holds memories. Black and white generational photographs on their walls. A timestamp in history.
My children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchild were all born in America. My son lost his life for the country he was proud to serve, just like you. And now the very country we call home wants to put us in a concentration camp.
Relocation center. It's temporary.
It doesn't matter what you call it.
Exterior farmhouse continuous. Miyoko looks at her passport picture, suddenly self-conscious. The weight of Canon's words sinking in.
Scout!
Just then, the dog breaks free from its chain and runs toward Keisuke. Exterior, farm continuous.
You have to get up. They'll come get you if you don't.
Keisuke continues gardening. Scout grabs the bucket and dumps the sugar beets into a pile of mud.
Up!
He clicks the gun.
Despite all of these tragedies, I was proud to be in America. Why?
Cut to exterior farmhouse continuous. Miyoko. She looks up from the passport. Interior barn continuous. Keisuke picks up the bucket, resumes plucking beets from the earth. Scout's rifle pointed at him.
If this country's so bad, then why don't you just go home?
Do you know what sugar beet is used for? Other than sugar, of course. It's used for rubber, alcohol, munition.
He holds the beet up.
Who would have thought such a discarded plant could have so much value?
Insert the dog running through the fields, getting closer.
Does Marshall know about your eyes? There's no greater honor, is there, than to serve your country? But what happens when you're on a battlefield and there's a sea of allies and enemies? How do you pick which one when you are blind?
Scout belts the end of his rifle onto Keisuke's skull, knocking him to the ground just as the dog lurches out of the grass and attacks Scout. His rifle fires. Exterior farmhouse continuous.
The dog. Where's the dog?
Just let us talk to him. Please, we can help if you just...
A gunshot. Louise wails.
What are you doing?
God damn it. Watch them.
Canon keeps his gun pointed at the family.
What have you done?
Close on, Miyoko's face, afraid, covering her ears as the noises around her disintegrate.
He's an old man, for Christ's sake. What are you doing?
Miyoko looks up at the sun, finding some kind of peace and stability in it. Exterior farm continuous. Close on, the dead dog. Keisuke, still hurt from the blow, lays on the ground, scattered sugar beets around him. A pool of blood spills toward Keisuke as his eyes stare directly into the dog's dying eyes. Fade to black.